Hello, welcome back to our final week together. Last two units, today and Thursday. We'll be doing Unity and finishing that poster, and then Variety and finishing that pamphlet. So everybody knows, I hope you've been checking those due dates. Everything is due on the 25th, which is Sunday at midnight. But you can do it. I know you can do it. It's just getting it done. Get the last few projects done, work ahead, and everything closes at midnight on Sunday, May 25th. Boom. Shuts down. I got to get the grades in ASAP to the college. And so that is how it works. So today we'll talk about the Unity lecture. I'll just glance over the research. I'll talk about the Unity project for a second. Not much changes at this point. We still now you're just using those design brains of yours and creating your own compositions however you feel based off of the theme of the session, which is Unity this week. I will show you how to do a poster mock-up for project A. I deleted the broken link completely. And we'll talk about that. It's very simple. You'll do a little Photoshop work. It's the only program you haven't maybe used yet, but it is so simple. It'll take a couple minutes. It is just placing one image on top of another image and distorting it. One thing to do. And then you can screenshot it or export it. So nice and easy. No worries there. I'll show you how to do all that after we go over Unity. Let's do it. That's in the wrong. All right, let's check it out. All right, after everything falls over. Unity. Kind of have two senses of Unity. There's Unity and there's Harmony. So Unity is the overall coherence and oneness of the design. Harmony is the visual compatibility of the elements. I'm going to say these two work together. They can be interchanged. Nobody's going to really talk about Unity and Harmony too separately when we talk about it in general terms of the design. But what we're talking about is how does everything fit together as a unit. We have all these design elements. We want a photo, and then we want maybe a drawing, and then we have text, and then we want color, and then we want this, and then we want that. It's all great, and we're designers, and we want to go crazy. But does it all look right? Does it work together? The big example that I use, and I'll use a ton in just this lecture, is does it look like one person worked on this, or does it look like somebody started it, gave it to somebody else, they worked on it in their way, somebody else worked on it in their way, somebody else worked on it in their way, and then you turned it in and you're like, what's going on? Like, why is there like something crazy going on here, but it doesn't match something over here, that doesn't match something over here? And it looks like, and I'll type to sometimes students, like, looks like three people worked on this, like nothing is matching. You have two different drawing styles or two different photograph styles. You got text in weird areas, whatever it may be. So what we're talking about is like, how does that final project look as a whole? And we're going to bounce back and forth when we talk about Unity and Harmony and like the way we work with those. So we'll use these interchangeably when we talk. And know that, yeah, they're basically the same idea. So what are key considerations for Unity and Harmony? That first one, consistency of style. So when I have you look for those research, the good place to go is like research. All those research pieces you do for each of these elements is consistency in style. When you look at those, generally you're finding old, established, like they've been published, and they're out in the public. So we're considering they're good, they're done. It's not some experimental piece. But 90% of the time, the style is very consistent. If it's if it looks like a collage, everything looks like a collage. If it's very modern, then everything's modern. This is where we get into styles. You hear about different design styles, like the Swiss style, or what's the vaporware, which was very hot for a while. All those different styles. But does the whole thing look like it was designed in one style, or do we have like script writing, like that old English, I'll say like that old English tattoo font that if I showed everybody, you'd be like, oh yeah, the one that everybody gets. Mixed with like hot pink vaporware. Like, no, that doesn't really work. The style isn't consistent. We want a consistent style throughout. Color harmony. How are we doing on that color situation? Like, are you all over the place? Did you use a rainbow of colors because you're so excited to use every color available to you? Or did you like tone it down and be like, I'm only going to use 3 to 4 colors only? I mean, that's a big one. We want to, and we get so excited because you see that little item pop up, that color item. Like this is downplays it. Oh no, I think I can get to it. Oh, I can't get to it here. I was hoping it had the other color system, but we have like millions of colors to choose from. Maybe you should only use like 4. I really knock it down. Most designers will use 4. That's kind of like a lot. 4 or 5. I'm not talking about a color photo where but like you don't need that many colors to prove your point. And I know everybody's gonna be like, well, that's a whole different story, and that's a symbolic system for a group. If we talk about pride, and they're like, oh, but they use a rainbow flag. There's a reason for that. Or if you're doing something for kids, but I want a rainbow of colors for the kids. Well, you could still be like, well, maybe we'll just do primaries, or we're very specific, but not everything's blending and moving in and the gradients of color. So we try not to really do that. Repetition in a piece. I'm going to show you a great little piece that is 3 different pieces that I talked about a week ago or so, where repetition can really help in the unity and harmony of a piece. Like if you have a design element, you should use it more than once and not use 7 different design elements. Like, so what do I mean by that? Like, so say like something you had a line, but then somewhere you put an arrow. And then somewhere else you did one of these, like the starburst to show something off. And then somewhere else in the same design, you're like, oh, I'm going to put something in a box. So it's like, wait, whoa. Okay, how about we choose the arrow only, and we'll only work with the arrow as that repeating piece. So if you want to signify something's important, you can have different kind of arrows, and that's the repeating part, but we're not like adding and adding and adding. We're just using, I'm going to use this as a key repeating element within the design to help, make it look better. We don't need everything on the page. We get so excited. And this is why, I'm not kidding. This is why kind of in your head and on the piece of paper, as loose as you can, you do your sketches, because you're like, well, then if I do a line and you're like, oh, wait, okay, that's way too many things. Like I can take some of those away. So having a starting ground that you've already thought about is sometimes easier, and that's why we do that. Alignment. The alignment of the elements, are they scattered? Like, how do you want them on there? Did you use a grid system? Do you not use a grid system? I'm not saying I don't use a grid system all the time, but I'm always setting guides, and I'm always looking for that relationship of like, if I have a square here, let me take out those first 2. So if I design something and I have like, say there's a square element here, I think about my next element, like I want it to line up with some part of this, no matter where it may be, but I'm looking at the alignment. So if I do some words here, that's in line with these 2. I'm creating a box. Or I can put them here, and it's in line with this. I can go down here because it's in line with this. That's what we're talking about. If you kind of like, if I was to do this, and then my copy starts halfway and then goes like one line, it's like, well, why is it like this? This isn't in alignment. It kind of looks goofy. You should wrap that and have, 4 lines and cut that line off. So it's somewhat, you're thinking about where do things align with each other. That's a pretty big one too, actually. Making sure that you align stuff. I always look for that. You look for those design cues, okay? I see a line coming off of that thing, it should go all the way across. Proportion and scale. This is the exact opposite that I asked you to do in the proportion and scale projects. Excuse me for the hesitation. Project. Like where I was like, I want reverse proportion. I want something crazy. But if you do something too much in your design, like in scaling, and it's like too big, too small, like all over the place, it gets confusing. A lot of this unity and harmony is to keep the piece from being confusing. So we're like, okay, I will have something maybe zoomed in, but what's it in reference to and why am I doing it? We think about that as we design. Why am I doing this? And the answer is not. The answer is not because it looks cool. You should have a justification behind that. Well, I did it because I'm thinking the scale of this and the way it interacts with the scale of this are going to make a harmonious, unified design. That way you sound smarter when you talk about it to clients. They're going to understand it's cool. It's cool, but you talk about like, oh, we wanted this because of this and that. And the answer is never because, well, I think it looks cool. We don't do that. That's very funny because I brought that up with our advisory committee, and like all of the professionals like, oh yeah, that's so true. Like we can't go to a client and say we did it because it's cool, but we use our design words and worked around that. Typographic consistency. All right, here's the big one. 3 fonts is your max. You should never have more than 3 fonts. But I want to use more. There's no reason to use more. Unless you, like, what would be the reason? Like, you would have to really justify the reason for using more than 1 font. Now, that gets into, but Joel, what if I have 1 font? But within that font is the font family. That is then, so say this is Arial. Within Arial, I have bold, regular, thin, condensed. Like I have a whole ton within this 1 font. You know what you try to do then? Just use Arial and use all those inside it because they all match up and they all look right and they all look the same. There are like established fonts, which are on like most computers and easy to get, do really have like, you can find font families like really like in depth and be like, oh my God, everything's there. I'm gonna use that font. Later on in life, as you mature as designers, you sometimes just go and like, you're like, I use like 3 fonts only. And it happens to everybody. You have this world of fonts, but you end up using like consistently in your designs, you use like 3 or 4 because you're like, I know how they work. I know they look good. It's, I blame Massimo Vignelli. He was a guy who was like very strict in his design, like super famous graphic designer, Massimo, super famous. Design, like everything, but he was very consistent and, like told his under designers, like, this is what we use. We use these 3 fonts only. He did it for years, like decades, and only set things up like this, but it was so well known and so perfect that it didn't matter. People still went to him. It was really great. Managing your negative space, empty space, contributes to the sense of unity. So this comes into the idea of negative space. Are you designing with things like super on top of each other, like, and there's no gaps, no nothing? You're like, I got it all in. Or the other one is people, when you run that body copy for the poster, everybody runs it like super big. I'm like, you know, it can be really small, like 8 point, 10 point, like people can walk up to the poster. But then you think as a beginning designer, like, I have all this real estate, I'm going to use it all. And you try to fill every little spot instead of being like, you know what? I need a title and I'm going to have a gap around the title. And then I have the date and there's a gap in between. And like, you think that you put gaps everywhere. You know what? It gives people a place to rest. They look through it and they can individually see what they're supposed to see instead of like a big overlapping jumbled mess, because like, you're like, everything should be as big as possible on the page all at once. No, it needs negative space. We need space. We need open air. We want, you know, it's like a park. Like, we want some trees and some space and some this and some that. So when you design, you really open up and you make sure, like, if I have something here, there's this space around it. Nothing can touch. We talk about it also in margins. Like, is there a margin around that, or is it touching? Like, we also like to do this as beginning designers. Like, this is an image, and we put the text touching the image for some reason. And I'm like, why is the text touching the image? If you have an image, put the text like a finger space away from it so I can look at the image, breathe, and then read the text. So nothing should touch anything else, basically, when you design. Nothing should be touching anything else. And then concept and theme. If you're working on a big, you know, we talked about this, you know, some of this with the pattern and stuff. And if you develop a theme, can be consistent with it. Do it across the board, which is a great segue into these 3 target ads. Consistent theme across 3 pieces, which were not necessarily shown all at once, but they did the exact same thing, but with 3 different products, and it works. And it's memorable. You remember it, you see it once, then you see it again with a different project, then you see it again with a different product, and it works so well. It's everything is here. So we have the title, the title, the title. We have the logo, the logo, the logo. We have the big color. I would say like big image, big image, big image. And when I say color, these resonate. They're chrome, but then the objects are very in color. But here it's a very dark image. So they did this object in a very muted color. So they're contrasting the large image to the small image. A watering can is used to grow tomatoes. A toaster is meant to toast bagels, and you put your coffee on top of your end table, whatever that may be. And then even like the little disclaimer is all in the same spot on each one of these. And now I was even looking, I was hard, like, are these matching? But no, it's a big. So very consistency. 3 different ads for one company, all done in a single design, but yet, so they're unified, there's harmony there, they all look the same, but they're advertising 3 different things. If you happen to be a drawer or you do your own illustrations, here we got a piece, oh, come on. That's sort of based on a typography, up here, where it's dots, lines, and some solids. So they carried that dots, lines, and solids through the illustration as well. Some dots and lines flying through. We have those nice lines the lines are up here. They're used on the illustration. Then we do have a contrast. We have that contrast to set the musicians apart, right? So they're solid and wavy, and they have some form to them. So that's a contrasting part. But then again, we go back to these instruments. We have these straight lines. We have the dots are used on some of the instruments, and it all refers to this. Then we come down to the bottom, and we have another line that helps us understand these lines that are up here. So that we have lines, lines, and lines. It's 3 different areas. It's a triad of design elements, as I like to say. And so it's all very cohesive. It's very harmonious in what they're doing. We have, there are only 3 colors, basically. It's orange, cream, and white. It's used separately in different spots, cream, cream, cream. And I think these are cream lines. Or there's white lines, white lines, white lines. Very unified. But you may look at it and not think that. You may be like, oh, it's just like this crazy random sketch drawing. It's very kind of fun and funky. But everything is unified in the design, from the typography to the illustrations to the colors that are used. Pocket squares. How to fold a pocket square. Well, the funny part about this is then everything in this website is square. Beautifully so, you know? And remember, we go back to that. We could even say, you could even do this. You know, the ratio, the golden ratio. You could even say that for the size, but like everything comes down and it's beautifully worked out in squares, and the squares divide out so perfectly. So it's like 1 big square equals 4 small squares. And then if you wanted to, you know, you could break those into rectangles or a rectangle. So there's a unified system based here. Think about the grid. This is the grid system. This is the infinitely usable grid system. But what they did is they do this back and forth item is they have big, small, small, small. And then they alter, you know, image, text, text, image, text, text, image, text, text, image. You know, big, big, big. We're just dancing around. We got, you know, it's like a game. And I kind of like, you know, these go in this. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong thing. The small ones go across like this. Then the big images dance around like this. Wah, wah, wah. But it's all within a grid. There goes the text ones. Beautifully laid out, so, you know, unified. Ooh, that was a highlighter. So very cool stuff. That's just showing you can do it simple if you want. Very, very simple and neat. Or you can do it crazy. You know, this harkens back to the other triangle image that I use. It's just, okay, weird images. They're weird black and white images, but they are of like the same elements. So they cut up this bear image and it's all triangles. And they flip-flopped it, which is kind of funny, which makes me want to try to put it back together. But this outlet is this outlet. Do I just simply move this close to that and will it? But then that can't be that outlet because this bear is here. So it's actually this bear head is shifted over here. But very cool. And then they're using, it's a match, which not everybody will see, but it's, if I do this triangle and this triangle is this triangle, which we're just missing one, and this triangle. So it's the same design flipped. And so it's unified. And then they have, you know, then we have our text in here and our text in here. And then this awesome like wording here. Because, you know, is it needed? Did they want this second section? But I kind of like this, the way they left it open. We're creating what? An anomaly within the design. So it didn't need to carry through. But the design shape, they're like kind of have this upper, they flipped it for the lower, and then they have the text kind of flow in. So even though it may not seem unified, it may seem really random, there is a unified idea toward this. And one last one for the people who can draw and illustrators and thinking about that. This piece in itself is all unified because it all has the same look, feel, and style. They didn't come in and have like a photograph of a guitar and then a drawing of a tattoo machine, you know, and then like the pics would be flat art and then, you know, some texture here and there. Everything was done with the intentionality that it all is the same style from top to bottom. It's unified in style. If they added, you know, behind the illustrations, there's some grit, but it's only behind the illustrations. See that? It's not behind the text. Oh, it's behind, like it's on this edge too. But they're very specific about where they put stuff. And then, you know, design style. It's kind of like a double, it's like one step above flat. They use some texture, but they use texture then. There's some texture here. I think there might be texture there. And then they added some texture in there. So it's a unified design. It doesn't look like, you know, in the other one, like I said, that's a photograph, or like this isn't like a sketch and then this is a photograph. It's like somebody sat down and like, okay, you know what you do? Somebody brought in a picture of a guitar. So they brought in the picture of the tattoo machine, and they used Illustrator and just went on top of it. You don't have to be an illustrator to do these kind of designs. You actually design right on top of a piece. You copy it. We call it tracing. Back in the day, you know, it's just tracing, which is totally legal because you're changing it from a photograph. You're changing it to an illustration style of your own. You're using a photograph as a reference. There are some points that you may need to get permission to use that as you get more professional. And there's different rules for that. But basically, if you've bought the image, you can use that image freely. So, and in school, you can do whatever you want. That's the great part about school. Any questions about Unity? All right, let's move on. Don't save. All righty. What are we at? What are we at here? Second last one. I think we're back to Illustrator. Back to Illustrator on this one. Practice makes perfect. That's why you're doing it this way. Great stuff. You know what to do. Everybody's knocking it out of the park. I'm seeing really great work. Good job across the board. Your Unity project is the same as the other ones. Color, shape, and typography to define unity in the design. Yep, again, yep, same stuff. But again, the more you do something, the more you repeat the process, the better you get at it. And this, again, it's totally different than the last one. So here's your setup. You've got your layers. Make sure you're using your layers correctly, designing in the right layers. It's like getting a design piece from somebody else and then having to work into it. Have some fun. See what you can do. Push yourselves. Finally, so what will happen is you'll turn in your computer rough drafts by the end of the day today, by midnight tonight. I will check them tomorrow and give you a couple tweaks. I will keep it low, like 3 things to do on your poster, like move this here, make this big, you know, like, and I'll draw it out and I'll mark it up for you and give it back to you. You do those things and we're going to call it complete. You can send it back to me if you want, use the discussion boards, go back and forth if you want for finer tuning. But then there's this part 2, which I'm going to make bolder because some people always miss that. I'm going to do it like this. But place your poster into a real world environment, on a wall, at a venue on the city streets, and then put that into your presentation as well. With what? Do what? I've never done anything like that. 3-step process. really. So what the first step is, you have your image, right? You have your poster. And I just took a screenshot of the poster from the student. All right, so there's my poster. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, and all I did was I typed in outdoor posters into the internet. Then I'm going to go to tools, size, large, and take one of these. I'll put it here. I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to save image as, and I'm going to save it to my desktop. Save. It's called banner prod manifest blah 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 .jpg. And then I'm going to open up Photoshop. I'm going to file, open, and I'm opening up that background JPEG on my computer, desktop. There it is, open. Ba-ba. And then I'm going to go to File. And you can do this a bunch of ways, but I've found Place Embed is now super easy and super simple. I used to open up like 2 files and do it a different way. And I'm like, oh, this Place Embed is so nice. There's my image. Now I'm just going to kind of like slightly put it in. Oh, don't hold on shit. Now I'm going to run into a problem. But I'm going to fix the problem. So see how their poster is bigger than my poster? What I am not going to do is stretch my poster. All right? I am not going to stretch my poster because I don't want my poster distorted. We never distort our posters. So I can have it fill in the brick. I'm going to select this and we're going to use, I mean, I can do it a ton of ways. I'll try the AI. So if I do this selection right there, generative fill, sometimes if I do fill with brick background, you might not have to do this on yours, but I don't want my poster stretched. I think that did it enough. Did it do it enough or do I need more? Oh, I need more. I didn't do it big enough. All right, so I'm going to delete that layer. Try again. Maybe I'll make that bigger. Like I said, if you get a perfect setup, you won't have to do this, but this is kind of the fun part of the game that we're playing. Fill with the. Now here's the other joke. I'll show you the old traditional way, which I could do in a minute. Like I'm waiting for this to happen, which to me is a little bit ridiculous, but I could just copy and paste these bricks over here and have it fill in. And then why did it give me this crap? Like what's with that? That makes no sense. And that doesn't work either. And it's just cutting up the poster. All right. Enough of that jibber jabber. I'm going to delete that layer. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this. I'm going to hit, I'm on here. I'm going to copy and paste that. I just need to set the bricks over and erase them out. I should be fine with that. And I'm gonna tone down that poster as well. But so what I'll do on this is I'm gonna do one erase line to blend this in. I'm just gonna use a nice soft round. 25. Yep. Go away. Oh, I have it on precise. I'm all on shift when I go up. And I'm just like dancing around and erasing. You just don't want to make, you want to like kind of join some things and make it look less like, can somebody notice what I did? And sometimes with these high texture areas, you can get away with a lot. Because they're going to be looking at that poster. And so now my poster, and I'm going to take this poster and I'm going to go, I can do it here. I'm just going to add, I'm going to change the curves. It's too bright. I kind of want to dull it. Oh, and I want to do it. I forgot to hit something. Oh, this down here is this. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you have to connect the curves to that layer, the poster
Well,
layer?
I have it on all of them, and I only want it on the poster layer. So if you hit this folder down here, it will only adjust it to the one layer and not all of them. So see that?
Yeah.
So now I'm only doing to the one layer.
I didn't know there was a button for that. I always did it keyboard.
I forget about the button all the time.
Oh, thank you for showing me something new.
Yeah, no, I totally always forget that because I do it and I'm like, oh, I get frustrated, and then I go up to do it with the image instead, and then whatever. So yeah, no, that little button, it does it to everything or just the layer below it. So there you go. And then the other thing I like to do is, this is like still really harsh, kind of compared to that photograph. I always like to add a little blur. So I'm going to blur just this. And like when I say blur, like I'm talking like, you'll think it's hilarious. Like I do not that, but I do like 1 pixel. But it just blurs it enough to make it not look like somebody stuck it in there. Okay. That might have been too much. Let's do a little bit less. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I'll do 0.3. Okay. Now, if I take this. Oh, I think because I did that smart filters. Oh, this may be messing with it. I want that. I'm gonna have to copy these. Nope. There we go. There we go. Now, let's see. Okay. Now you could do the same, and I could do all 4 posters, and I'd just go through the same process. So have some fun. Pick some cool. There's cool ones out here, like super easy to find. Do your best. If you haven't taken Photoshop, like I said, it's a very quick process. You can find a lot of these straight up, front on. If you want to get crazy, you can do, like shadows across them. You guys want to see shadows? Let's do shadows.
Sure.
It'll take me 5 minutes. Save images. I'm just going to open that one I just downloaded. File. Place embedded. Find my screenshot. Poster. Come on. Place. Now the other thing we could do, because it doesn't fit, we can gray out. I can extend this image. I'm going to extend the image instead of distort it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge, because there's no information here that I need, except for I went too far. That's good. I'm going to copy paste. Oh, I got to rasterize this first. The arrow is on top of it. How dumb is that? All right, copy paste. Now I can just extend this. And this I can stretch. But now you have to hold down shift. Let's see. And I'll do the same with this edge. But I have to flip it too. Should work. Edit. So I'm flipping it. So when I pull this, it looks like it's part of the image. And then I should put those on top. Now I have that white edge. I got a clip from this poster from when I screenshotted it. Delete. Tell you, this is the stuff you just like put something on in the background and you just get lost into doing this. I love this kind of stuff. Okay, deselect. Now I have a poster that fits it. I would clean this up more. I did it, but for sake of your guys' time. Okay, and then I want to merge all those. I'm going to flatten that image. All right. Now, super simple. I'm going to turn that off. And I'm just going to, like, with a darker color, make this shadow. And I just use a paintbrush and I'm going to kind of do dark blue. I'm not going to do black. All right. I'm going to create a new layer and you can draw it in however you want. I'll do 2 different steps. I'm going to do this little thing. It doesn't have to be perfect, mind you, right? Because it's a shadow. And if it's not like perfect compared to their shadows, nobody's going to really know. So I'm going to do edit, fill, and I want to fill with the foreground color. Hit OK. And then I'm going to deselect. And then I'm going to paint this in really quick. So I got to go to my paintbrush. I'm just going to have it on soft round. And I can't see the size of my thing, which sucks. Oh, that's fine. There we go. Good enough. Now it's good enough. All right, so then I have that, and then I'm going to cut off the little extraneouses that I did here. Delete. And then deselect. I'm going to do 2 more. Filter. Oh. Filter. Blur. My favorite Gaussian blur. I'm going to do it too. Okay. And then I'll turn this on. Now you're like, that looks like crap. Yeah. And then we'll go up to normal. And we're going to check all these. Darken, multiply. And we're going to find one that kind of looks like the shadow, which is actually, I always like multiply. And then we're going to reduce the opacity a ton. There we go. There we go. It's down and dirty. You know, there's some cleanup. I'd do more blurring of this area, you know, to get it more like that streakiness. But for a couple minutes, there you go. Add some shadows onto that to bring it to life if you want. It really does do a lot if you can do that. So have some fun with it. Any questions about the poster designs?
I don't have a question about the poster, but I do have a question about the class you told me about. So.
Oh,
yeah.
I wrote you back about that.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen it. I just wanna like get more detail of like what it like is.
I will give you more details when a college allows it to go through.
Oh, okay.
It is still in like this phase where it hasn't been fully accepted yet, and we're waiting on that. The second I know about it, you will find out about it.
Okay,
Because
sounds
we're very
good.
excited.
All right,
And then I have some other updates this summer. I'll contact you about some stuff we're getting in the classrooms that you can use even without that class.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Thank you.
So I'll keep you up to date because I'll be advertising to everybody to get people into the classroom and start using some state-of-the-art tools and design. So.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. Yes, I will let everybody know. So. Awesome. All right. Anything else? All right, cool. I look forward to seeing the poster designs. Like I said, don't be nervous. I'll only give you a few tweaks to do because I know we just have a few days out. Sunday is the last day, Sunday at midnight. If I don't see you on the discussion boards today or tomorrow, I will talk to you again on Thursday for our last lecture. All right. Take care, everybody. Have fun. Bye.